Check. Hey, sports fans. What? Whoa. I got the wrong. Oh, no. Forgive me. I have the wrong camera plugged in, and now I'm in trouble. Uh-oh. Let's do it this way. Wow. This is live TV. Great. I was just doing my thing from the other day, and I forgot that my camera is on there. Okay. Well, sports fans, welcome to the halftime show. I promised to have it set up for the post game. But at any rate, let's go through some stuff here because we might actually have a correspondent. My buddy Gabe is at the game, and he's supposed to try and call in. But as we all know, trying to get someone to get into a hangout is really impossible. You send out an invitation, doesn't work. You give them the link. It's kind of hit or miss. But I won't be surprised if he kind of steps in here at some point and just reappears. Let me do this real quick because I feel like I got to be looking at you guys more. Sorry. Wow. Live TV, huh? This is exciting. Get a chance to see my office a little bit better. So if I move this here, tilt that down. Let's see if that's any better. It'd be a weird angle, but hey. Okay, that'll work, right? Okay, so let's break into, let's see if Gabe, I'm on it now, nobody there. Of course, he's nobody there. Anyway, let's go in and start sharing some screenshots because I want to go through the stats from the first game. So from the first half, what do we have here? So if we look here at the first half, let me make this bigger so we can all see it. Okay, it was a really ugly game to begin with, although it was really great defense in reality, where these guys were going at it. I mean, this was terrific defense, really exciting stuff. So what you end up seeing here is 37% shooting by the Warriors and 44% from the Spurs, which is better. And as a result, they did have the that's the why is it out of order? Okay, which is why they had an 18-point lead. Oh, excuse me, this is the first quarter. Wow, this is really a great halftime show we're starting. Nonetheless, 18 points for the Warriors on 33% shooting and 17 points on 35% shooting by the Spurs. Not a lot of rhythm shots here, a lot of just really great closeouts, a lot of good no middle, a lot of good moving direction. And you can see here what was killing the Warriors is 1 for 9 from 3. Really hard to overcome when they're not shooting well. But to their credit, they held them as well. Who are the highest scorers? We have LaMarcus Aldridge with 6. And Boris Diaw was terrific. Now, the funny thing about the way this game started was that the Spurs started out really small, to combat Draymond Green at the 5. And yet the Spurs just posted up almost every possession. It was kind of crazy. So you got Boris Diaw posting up. He was 3 for 3 in the first quarter, and it was really good stuff. And then you had LaMarcus Aldridge, who was bigger and longer than anybody else that the Warriors had anyway. So that was a real problem. So I'm going to just tell Gabe here, but see, let's take one last chance to see if we can get our live correspondent into this hangout. I'm gonna email him this link one more time and see if this works. Or let me do it this way, maybe. Let's try this because if you copy and paste the link, the URL, it might actually go. Let's try that. So. Because wouldn't that be cool to have a guy reporting to us live and what it's like in that stadium right now? So anyhow, let's move on to the stats. And before we go on to our live video analysis, let's go on to the stats we have for the second quarter. So on the second quarter, we have here, this is the second quarter. Let me share with everybody. You have here the halftime score is 43-37. So Spurs actually had a command of this game, and at the very end, it looks like Golden State kind of got a couple buckets there to keep it closer. But the worry the Golden State Warriors have is it's the second of a back-to-back on the road. So generally, you're going to see as the third quarter progresses a little bit of a conk out where the Spurs go on a run. And that's it. However, let's see what we have here in the second quarter. For the first half. So Brandon Rush is chipping in nicely as a starter with 7 points and shooting well. And then you have Green and Thompson with 6. Now, Curry got to 7, but he's a very inefficient 2 for 10 and 0 for 6. So who knows? Maybe this is going to be the game where he doesn't get a 3. And let's see, look at the turnover department. 6 turnovers is actually pretty good. That's not going to hurt them there. What's keeping them in the game on the Warriors side is the 11 turnovers by the Spurs. And some of them, this is all pretty good defense here by the Warriors. So I'm very impressed with what they're doing. But I will say if this maintains the 44% or 45% to 37% field goal percentage, then the Spurs should win this without too much trouble. They're also up rebounding a little bit, 25 to 22, but it's the turnovers and the shooting that's the thing. But what happens when the Spurs do not give the Warriors any kind of rhythm out there. They were hounding Steph. It was pretty crazy stuff. And I liked what the Spurs were doing on defense a lot better than I did vice versa. Even though the Warriors are very solid, the Spurs were actually taking it to them. And Bobby Knight once said it. He goes, defense is just offense without the ball. And that's what it looks like. And the Spurs had some of their typical ball movement, terrific stuff there. And it was really exciting to watch, although they weren't kind of finishing. So let's move on to some video highlights, shall we? Because we have some interesting things to go over here. Let me bring this up and bring over our video. So our first clip is midway through the second quarter. We have, okay. Where is that's not the play I wanted, but nonetheless, okay, Oh my goodness, is this going to be screwed up here? Let's see if this is it. Okay, so Diaw gets the ball in the post. Okay, this is screwed up. All right, guess what? Sorry, I guess we're not going to have to do video. You know what? I apologize. I haven't done a live show in a long time. I guess I've forgotten how I'm supposed to get those clips out. So that's embarrassing. Nonetheless, what we can't go through is wow, frustrating. So I can't get my live correspondent in here. I can't get my clips either, which is really troubling. You know what we can do? We can do it this way. So let's try this. I'm going to share this screen instead, and this should work. All right, here we go. Never stop grinding, right? That's how we do it. So is this the one I want? No. Let me share the right screen this time, which is, okay, it's with Steve Kerr. There it is. Okay, present to everyone. Okay, so here's what this should work. Now, it might be a little stutter, but hey, this is, we're pushing the boundaries of live streaming here for now. And so what we have here is in the first quarter, we're going to go, you'll see what we're talking about the post-ups with Diaw here on this one, where Diaw will float to the low post on that left block. Now, here's what's interesting. Because of that, Clay gets screened off on the inside ball screen by LaMarcus Aldridge, they end up switching. So that means that now Clay has to guard LaMarcus Aldridge, which is definitely an advantage. And now that they get Boris Diaw in the post, terrific vision to see this. And look at this pass. You're going to see him just throw it up there, and boom, a nice little lob. Terrific stuff. Really great recognition. Let's move on to with 3 minutes to go in the first quarter. I just want you to watch. While it's stuttered, you get a handle on just what kind of defense is being played out here by the Spurs. So you have they switch it here to make it really difficult, and you have Kawhi now on Barbosa. Now look at Patty Mills, just presses up. He's much smaller, but he's going to put pressure. He forces Klay Thompson to turn his back. It's perfect. Now he can't see the floor and attack as easy. Then they hand off and switch. They double that a little bit. Look at the rotation. Look at this. Kawhi right on top of him, pushing him back, making it. He can't even swing the ball. Now, Draymond gets a little daylight here and actually hits the shot, and they call a foul. So this is a really great back and forth going on here, and these teams are slugging it at each other. So then we'll move on to let's see here. 2:30 left in the let's see, let me find that spot where I want it. Is this it? No. Okay, let's move on to, I can't even see it. My eyes are going. Okay, so then we get to 1:15 left in the first quarter. At the pick and roll, we go a little farther here. Okay, so here's what I love about this is they'll post up Tim Duncan on the left block, and that's great. And they're going to set a ball screen for him, which is really cool because I love ball screens set for post-up players. Really hard to defend. But watch what Sean Livingston does. So Sean Livingston's here. They're going to set a flare screen with Manu first, which I kind of like. But then, as he comes in for this ball screen, Livingston just goes, boop, gets in there. Duncan was standing too straight up and down, gets the rip, and they come right down the floor. And we're going to see Manu riding in. Duncan's too slow to get here. And Kawhi had to make a decision and tries for the block, but gets there to force the miss. Duncan still can't get inside, and Draymond gets the tip in and the and one. So, these are plays that the Warriors are making, in the face of still really good defense and good or almost good execution by the Spurs. If we cut to the second quarter with 11 minutes to go, we have here's one of my favorites. This is not really that exciting as a highlight, but we got a nice little two-man game going up with Boris Diaw. So you see a lot of cutting through and crossing cutters. So here we got a two-man game with Manu and Diaw. Oh, sorry, here they're going to swing it again. Here it is. Oh, sorry, they're going to kick it out. There it is. Now, so we got Manu and Danny Green on the right side of the two-man game. They set it up an inside ball screen. Danny Green rejects it. Right, but flows right into a pick and roll or into a dribble pitch. So these defensive players had never had 1 second to relax after the offensive rebound. And I love, this is my favorite. Watch how Diaw fakes the handoff. Let's watch that again. Boris Diaw is going to fake the handoff. It's going to suck in his man. Watch James Michael McAdoo. Oh, and he gets stuck and he gets fouled, and they get a foul on the Warriors. Love that kind of action. It's very clever stuff. Now let's move over to what we meant by swarming Steph Curry. This is really impressive stuff that the Spurs were doing. That was really great. So here you're going to watch Steph Curry. I love it. Setting the back screen that usually gets him open because, look, Patty Mills has to help over and maybe even switch on his man. And then we're going to see, but Danny Green gets right back into it. He runs him off the three-point line and blocks the shot. Let's watch that again because it's terrific effort here by Danny Green. He gets screened off, recognizes it, closes out, blocks that shot right there. And now they're going to swarm Steph. He's going to lose the ball. He's off rhythm. This is all terrific stuff. Can't get in. And then he misses he throws a crazy wild pass. So they've gotten Steph Curry off of his game without question. And whether or not he started that way or it's the Spurs, I don't know, but it's clearly an issue. But as we've seen time and time again, Steph Curry gets his stuff together and usually goes on a run. So the Spurs better be ready for that. And what I had thought was going to be what got him going was this play. I believe that this is where we are in this marker. No. Where are we here? Nope, it's over here. Okay, so let's see how this unfolds. Curry brings the ball up, hook pass. Now we're going to get a little bit of a weave going out here to try and get him open. And they usually run this weave for Klay Thompson into a ball screen, but instead they're going to get Steph Curry this action so he can deal with it. Now Steph Curry's going to get the ball screen after the weave. Boom. And now he's got DeMarcus Aldridge, who's taking away middle. He's keeping him on this side of the floor. I kind of like that. And but he lets him get back into the middle, and that's the problem. And look at that beautiful finger roll. Now, I thought that was going to get Steph going, but it just didn't really do it because he just still was looked out of it and sort of not on track the rest of that half. And they're going to need him, obviously, if they want this to work out in their favor. Here's just a little thing. Here's Kawhi Leonard bringing the ball up, head up, sees his teammate under the basket, beautiful pass, and they get the layup. And that's for all those people who want to say that Kawhi can't set his teammates up. I think it's a really good example of facilitating. So without question, that's what we have here. And that's actually part of the argument we have for Kawhi Leonard being the best player in the league because he's this much better than Curry on defense. Curry is this much better than him on offense. We have to figure out where that all lines up. But I got to tell you, I think it's close because obviously as a coach, I value defense probably as much as offense. Other people don't seem to do that. So we'll see what happens. But either way, we have a post-game show coming up live. I guess we couldn't get my buddy Gabe in here, maybe on the post-game, but they'll probably be heading out of the stadium. So he is telling me he can't do it. So anyway, we will figure it out, and one of these days we'll get it. The second half's about to start, so join us for the post-game show right here. Same link, same everything when we get there. So we'll see you then. I'm in. All right, sports fans. Well, what an incredible, exciting game from the Warriors and the Spurs. Thanks for joining us on our post-game show. Great to have you here. And we have a lot to go over here, which I'm certainly will be better than what you might find on TV because we're going to have video analysis. And I got the clips going this time. We're going to have stats and all sorts of great stuff. So, which reminds me, one thing I need to do really quickly is grab the whatchamacallit, the stats for the final stats here, which I didn't do because I'm still running with my hair on fire right now. You have to forgive me because I'm still out of practice with my live post-game shows. If you might remember, we've had a great time with our post-game shows in the past and have had like thousands of people in these things. So thanks for joining us right now. Let's grab these real quick while I'm here, and we'll turn this off so we don't have to hear that. And I'm going to grab the stats, the final stats, so we can share them with you. So let's do that real quickly and get that going, shall we? Let's see here. Screenshots, because it was a crazy game, lots to talk about, and let's get into it. So we have here the end of the third. Okay, here we go. Let me do a quick screen share, and we'll be into it. Are you ready? Where is it? Okay. So at the end of 3, we noticed the score ended up being 65 all because the Warriors got the pace going a little bit better, even though there was still a ton of post-ups throughout the second half. It was very strange to see, considering these teams are both usually getting perimeter action. So what we see here is 28-22. That was a big 6-point advantage for them. And let's go to our next thing, which would be the end of the third quarter. Okay, so let's see who's doing what well. Golden State, at the end of the 3, Steph Curry got a little bit going, still only had that 1-3, and was still shooting poorly, but led the team with 14 points, 5 rebounds, and no assists. This is very interesting here. Draymond Green had all the assists here, 7, and then you had, 5 assists. I misread that. So Steph Curry has 5, Draymond Green has 7 through the game and 11 points. They're getting, in a typical intense playoff-like atmosphere, they're getting some production, but it's really going to be about the field goal percentage in theory here, and you can see they're below 40, while the Spurs are eking just above 42 by 43. Looking at the 3-point shooting, it's a real big disparity here, and they made the same amount, but look how many less shots the Spurs needed to take, and it's a big deal when you're going to get in a close game like that. The turnovers were the only thing keeping the Warriors in this game. Some of them were pretty bad, just basic ones. And surprisingly, or not surprisingly, but the Warriors only had 7. That's a terrific number for them. So they had some things going for them, but they could not get on track. This was definitely the kind of game that you could have used Iguodala in, without question. When it's a real defensive-minded thing, and also you need a guy who's a veteran who can create a couple shots there, Andre Iguodala, it would be huge for them. And certainly having Bogut as well would be another big one. So this should be an encouraging game for the Warriors because they went toe-to-toe and they took them down to the wire and they couldn't quite close it out. And if we go, let's go one more time to the fourth quarter statistics, because that will be interesting to see as well what we finished up with before we go to some video. Oh, and then also, if you have any questions, make sure to use hashtag BBallShow, and we will answer them. I will answer them live, and we'll go through that the whole show. So really quickly here, by the end of the game, 87-79. This is probably the lowest point total I imagine that the Warriors have had all year long. And they actually ended up having one more 3 than the Spurs, but shooting 25% is not going to cut it here. Steph Curry, I would say of his 11 misses, 8 of them were pretty bad shots, and that's another real problem thing here. So what we're seeing here is nobody had a great game on the Warriors. Nobody was very efficient. Meanwhile, on the Spurs side, LaMarcus Aldridge was a beast down low, and I'll show you some interesting action they run for him. 26 and 13, terrific presence down there, really anchored them, and not a lot of production from anybody else. Kawhi gave him 18, but didn't shoot well with 14 rebounds and 4 assists. So a nice all-around game without the shooting there. And then after that, 14 and 10, 14 from Diaw, which is a nice little surprise considering he started today. And then Tim Duncan off the bench only played 8 minutes. It's kind of crazy, but it just wasn't his game because the Warriors forced it. So that's another good thing that the Warriors should look at, is that they were able to force the lineups. To get Tim Duncan not to play that many minutes is pretty crazy in my mind. That's I can't wait to hear what Pop says about that, but there's no question he's going to say something to the fact of there just wasn't places for him to get in there and play. And it didn't really matter because they ended up having control of the game. And I know that Pop must feel good about that part. Aside from the turnovers, the game felt like it was the Spurs the whole time. We saw some bad body language by Steph. And there are times we've seen this where Steph tends to just he just gets a little bit separated from his body. You can see he's just not quite completely in his mind there, and he was just off. And that happens second to get back-to-back on the road. And, you know, I would imagine we're not going to see that kind of stuff in the playoffs necessarily because they're going to have rest and a time to get into his routine. So a lot of things going on both sides of the ball to take away from. And certainly the Spurs hanging an L on them will be good for their psyche. And it'll be an even better game, I imagine, when they go back to Oracle to compete, and we'll have to find out if Bogut will be healthy. I imagine that toe injury wasn't as severe as people might think, and he probably sort of could have played if it was Game 5 of a playoff series. And, you know, they don't need to push it when they're, you know, doing so well and still have a relatively comfortable lead up on the Spurs with not that many games left. Well, let's go to let's answer some questions, shall we? I see we have a couple of questions here with our hashtag BBall show. And what I'm going to do real quickly is just let everyone know on Twitter that we're here, and they can ask questions. So join us and use BBall show to ask questions. I got a question for you guys. I was thinking about doing a live show where you're watching me watch the game. I don't know, maybe interesting, right? I can kind of comment. You can see me how I vine and post it. Maybe it might be interesting. I've seen some people doing that with Periscope. It seems like the audience is a lot bigger here, so maybe we should try that, and then we can comment and we can talk about it. Let me know. Let's go to our screen share and let's see what kind of questions we have. We have a few coming in here. So let's present this and see what we have here. All right, so we have our first show. How many teams can take away the Warriors' three-pointer like the Spurs did tonight? Great question, Alexander. Not many, because what they have in Kawhi and Danny Green, and then you throw in other really smart players out there on their team, like, and I love how Patty Mills plays, is there's not too many teams that are focused like they are. It was really a sight to behold, and I suppose I'm going to try and break it down for tomorrow, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So I can't think off the top of my head. I mean, the Cavaliers, you know, I don't know if they have it. Nothing about their defense really strikes me that they can do that. You know, you talk about maybe like, you know, a guy like Paul George with the Pacers, but, you know, who else do they really have? You know, you got to have two elite perimeter defenders, and the Spurs certainly have that. Veronica asks, if you were Spurs, who would you rather face in the second round? And if you were the Warriors, oh, well, that's a really, really good question. I would imagine the Spurs. Let's see here. So the Spurs are second. They're going to play the 3-6. And that's going to be probably either the Thunder or the Clippers. So I would imagine that the Spurs would want to face maybe the Clippers, because Blake is going to come back real late if he does, and he'll still be maybe rusty perhaps. And they probably could handle that. I don't think that anybody wants to go against Russ and KD. It's just going to be you never know. If they go off, it's tough. They can make it really difficult, even though they haven't played well against the good teams. I think that they might want the Clippers. It just seems like that's what in the past was going on. And the Warriors in the 4-5 matchup would be, I think, well, who's the fifth now? I mean, let me check that real quick while we're talking, because that's a great question. Let's go to the standings. As of now, the winner of the 4-5 matchup in the West would be Clippers and Grizzlies. Oh, yeah. So, it looks like the Spurs would end up playing the Thunder, and that's not who they want to play, but that might change. That might not. It looks like it's not going to change. And then as far as the Warriors go, I think obviously they take the Grizzlies without question, but we'll see what happens with the Grizzlies, if they fall behind or not. They've got a nice lead right now, so they'll probably be there. But it looks like it'll be the Clippers, and I think the Warriors can handle that. So good question. Brian Coate asks, does Steph have a weakness at all moving left like LeBron? If so, I wonder why teams don't do it to him. Well, interestingly enough about Steph is that he loves the left-hand dribble, because when you pick the ball up with the left to the right to shoot it, he seems to be more effective that way. So I don't think he's got a weakness going to his left, really. Now, we did see a crazy shot he took lefty. I want to chalk it up more to just him being out of it. Like, that shot he took was terrible. and not what he would normally do. And I don't understand, what that's about. I don't know if he does, but every so often you wake up on the wrong side of the bed and you can't get off track. Shooting after going to his left. Right. No, I think most righties love going to his left. And I think he's definitely in that camp. I should check the shot charts, but I don't see that as a weakness of Curry. Alfonso asks, do you think the Spurs were being overly physical with Curry? Not really. I think they were about as appropriate as you need to be, and that's about what you got to do to get him off his game, get his rhythm off, and that's exactly what you got to do. Can you do that 4 times? I don't think so, but certainly if you do it enough times and then beat him the other times, then you obviously have a chance. So certainly they were not being overly physical. I do think there's a lot of people crying about the refereeing tonight. So if you have some real significant calls, use #CoreCall and submit them all to us, because I thought it was okay. I'm not really rooting for anybody in this game, so I don't know, what that feeling is on either side. So definitely check that out. Paul asks, why couldn't the Warriors get boards? Is it purely just size? Well, yeah, I mean, LaMarcus Aldridge is so long, he can get in there, and he's really tough down there. And people don't give him credit for how tough he is. Let's get a couple more questions in here. Distats NBA asks, when they play in the Western Conference Finals, do you think the team who wins this series is who puts up the most points or has the best defense? I'm going to go with defense. I think that these guys are going to be a slugfest, and it's going to be who can maintain their defensive principles more consistently. But it's a great question. You probably will have 1 or maybe 2 games where it's 120, 118, I'd imagine, and really fun. But I have to imagine that the series is going to turn on defense. TWB asks, only way to beat Golden State is to dominate on glass, can't outsmall the Warriors. That's also another great point. I missed that on the stats. 14 off of offensive rebounds really hurts you when you get those putbacks. We got to check what the second chance points were, but I have no doubt that they're high, and that's a great way to negate. Now remember though, they only lost the 3-point battle by 1, and they shot a lot better, and that's the other key. If you're going to get outshot from the 3-point line by more than 4 or 5, then you better get offensive rebounds and putbacks. K-Mo says, that's a good game for the Warriors. They think it is. I'm feeling real positive about a repeat right now. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot to take away from that. Was great. They were shorthanded, and Bogut and Iggy are just huge for them. And without them, it changes the whole complexion of the game. So without question, they represented well, and it was just a question of can they get those guys healthy and get them back in the flow? I don't know what the Spurs have to offer against that, but then again, we'd see certainly a lot more Tim Duncan. Any idea how Danny and Tony defended Steph? I think it's about letting him drive instead of shoot. Yeah, no, they defended him perfectly. I mean, that's as good as a job as you're going to see without question. And Steph bailed them out on a couple of those threes as well, but it was out of the frustration of the defense without question. What were the differences in Spurs defense from last game, Yoav Katzman? That's a really good question. Curry was so out of his mind that I don't know. They were trying their best, and there was a lot of similar stuff. So I'm going to look at it here if there's anything adjustment, but I got to go through it again to really see the subtle stuff they might have done. Besides, they did jump the pick and roll a little bit. I feel like we didn't see a lot of Draymond Steph pick and roll. And that's what I got to really look for. And that could just be a factor of them not wanting to show it, until the playoffs, and that's possible. D1 asks, why can't bigs like LA take advantage of their size against Golden State's small lineup? Well, I certainly think they did. I mean, you can look at the number of rebounds, and he was ducking in down there really well and causing some problems. So Draymond, LaMarcus Aldridge is a great matchup. And Draymond's got those long arms, but man, Aldridge can get tough down there. He was getting physical. He was clearing out in there, laying the shoulder in there, getting some separation. Very difficult. So the Spurs knew what they were doing when they picked him up, because they definitely identified that matchup as one that it could possibly go in their favor, and that's what we saw tonight. But remember, without, again, Bogut and Iguodala, and then even if they get Ezeli back, that's a lot more to bring to the table, and so the Spurs are going to have to adjust to that. Let's go to some quick highlights I have of some video. I think this will work this time. I promise you something. So let me call that up here, and let me make sure I got what I got. Let's see here. It is. It looks like this is it. Okay. So to start off in the third. Let's see what we have here. Let me turn off the volume. Excuse me. Okay, so this is one I really like this play because it gives a lot of opportunities for Kawhi to read the defense. What you're going to see here is just a little bit of flex action to start. Tony Parker is going to screen across for Danny Green, and then they're going to screen the screener here. But then what they do is get like sort of another version of flex here, where Danny Green's going to set the baseline screen for Kawhi, and then LaMarcus Aldridge, after swinging it, is going to set the pin down. And he can read this. Kawhi can see that because Rush is forcing him away from the baseline, it's going to be a hard cut to get there. So he'll take the easy path, which is the pin down. LaMarcus Aldridge gets in his way. Rush runs into it, and he steps out, gets a nice rhythm three, splash. Great play. Love that kind of stuff. Very difficult to defend. Okay, later on in the third, let's see here. So here's an example of what they did with the Curry. Now, this is a Curry-Harrison-Barnes pick and roll. Again, I feel like they went away from, I got to count them up, but they went away from Draymond screening for him. So here on this one, LaMarcus Aldridge is going to lead this a regular switch. And, you know, look how far out he trails him out there, because he knows that Curry can make these from the logo out here. So he gets beat to the middle, which is not what you want to do. And there is the lefty layup, and there's no help. So let's see what the rotation would have been. Kawhi, I think Draymond had hit it one or two, or it scored a little bit, so was worried about rotating over. But that could have been his here. And then Rush is way wide open. So that's oh, I like that. Actually, Parker sprints and sees that. But Diaw, in theory, needs to step up a little bit. That would have yielded a layup. So it's a tough call. This is what happens when you let middle penetration get into the basket. You really have very few choices. I like the contest by Diaw, but a better finish up off the front of the rim. Later on, here's another example of LaMarcus Aldridge making some headway down here down low. And let's get to that play. I went a little bit early. Okay, so here we go. Now here's the key to watch LaMarcus Aldridge and what he does. Oh, this is really simple, actually. So he just kind of marches down, and what they're going to do is, this is called a duck in. This is actually the UCLA high post. This is really hilarious. This is John Wooden's original UCLA high post, and that is guard forward pass, and then Patty Mills is going to make a UCLA cut off of the high post, as you'll see. Now the high post will step out. This is just like they did it. Now this is what the duck in is. LaMarcus Aldridge will just, the old version of this is he would actually plant his right foot and do a spin move to seal, but he just drives that left forward, gets inside. I like how he roots him out. He lowers that shoulder, gets contact, gets some space. Draymond doesn't give up. He contests nicely, but you can't stop that when he's that long down there in the front of the rim. That's hilarious. Perfect UCLA high post. Later on in the fourth quarter, tie game, and these teams are just battling each other. I like this. Here's some more low posts. They went to Livingston, who was doing some damage down there. And you're going to see here, they usually do it when the passer throws the ball to the low post, then the passer will screen near the elbow, or like the elbow extended, and then like for Clay coming around. But instead, this must be a call. They flare screen for Clay, and Livingston is looking for the opening. If it's not there, remember, this is a slip into the open spot here. A nice little hop by Murray Spates, and they get an open shot. So this is the inverted split of this, where instead of happening in front of the post here, it's happening on the weak side, and there it splashes. Spates gets a key bucket there off the hop. Nice. Okay. Later on, I just want to give you an example of some of the defense that was being played here. You know, they switch this really nicely, and they talk really well. So here comes a pin down. And now they do a nice job to get Manu free here. Clay talks, Harrison Barnes jumps out, and now they haven't lost too much because they got Clay on boards. That's okay. They still have Mills being guarded by Barbosa, and now they have Barnes chasing Manu. It's nice. Now Spates drops because they want to chase him around to contain. That's great, and now he comes up and steps up. Look at that, Harrison Barnes. Beautiful job here to jump in there and not let that pass get back to the roller. Now, again, another switch here where they set the corner screen here, like out of the triangle offense a little bit. And when they screen him off, look, Livingston hustles to get inside. Murray Spates steps up, and now they have no time left, and they're going to get in trouble here. Again, another switch with Clay. This is exactly what the Warriors can do. And, oh, yes, they get the penetration from the baseline. There's literally no time left on the kick out. And I just want you to watch. Livingston is guarding Manu, okay? and Spates just starts to run in, thinking maybe the clock's going to run out, or he's looking at maybe David West here. So watch how Livingston reads this, instantly turns, finds the ball, gets in the air, closes out, and closes out to the shooting hand, which is beautiful. Leaves his feet and gets the block shot. That's perfect defense for 14 straight seconds. I mean, this is what the Spurs had to deal with, and then likewise on the other side. Now, Boris wasn't playing such great defense on this. I thought I'd show you this. So I want you to watch him. Can you see him on the weak side here guarding Harrison Barnes? So as the ball comes toward the baseline, this is nice. He moves in the direction of the ball to help on this if they need it. And now they get some movement here. Watch Harrison Barnes. He's going to come up. Boris Diaw is going to lose him. He gets confused. Now he's looking down at the ball here, has no idea where Barnes is, and Barnes does a nice job of cutting. So watch. He spins around. Now he's going to close out. Look, he's like, wait, where did he go? And then beautiful left-handed pass by Varejao. And this Varejao can throw some passes a little bit like Bogut can, but he's not the same. And there's the dunk. One more time. Let's watch it all the way through in real time. Just watch Diaw. He comes over nicely, but here he's got to maintain a little bit more sight of Harrison Barnes. He closes out. He's not there. He doesn't know where he is. Boom. Great find. And then our last clip today is 6:33. Let's see here. And don't forget, ask any questions you have using the hashtag BBallShow, and we'll answer them right now. Okay, here's another way they got Aldridge low post position. Actually, it's a simple rim run. I was thinking he screened first, but he didn't. So you can watch Aldridge here. Oh, I see. Again, on the inside ball screen, it's making Draymond rotate over, and that gives him deep post position. He just seals him, and you can't stop that when he's that close. Really good offense by the Spurs, and really refreshingly old school offense. So many post-ups. I tweeted it out earlier, the 90s call. They want their post-ups back. Crazy stuff. But, hey, it was working. They felt like they had the advantage, and that's how you win a game, 87-7, whatever the final score was. It was kind of crazy. Let's go back to some questions as we progress through our terrific post-game show. All righty. We have 6 questions so far. Let's go back. Here we go. Billy Watkins asks, do you think the Spurs have a legitimate chance of stealing the #1 seed? I don't think so, honestly. Let me look at the standings again. Right now, the Spurs are 3 games back, although they do have, I believe, 2 more games against the Warriors. And there are, 69, 79, 80, 81, 13 games left for them and for the Warriors as well. 3 games up, 13 left, 2 games against them. You know what? There is a chance they could steal it, but I would say it's got to be less than 30%. Victor asks, do you think that switch is the best way to defend against Golden State? Yeah, well, here's the thing. I don't like switching, but if you have the personnel that you can do it, then absolutely you should switch whenever you can. I just don't like the mismatches that you usually get, but when you have a team like the Warriors, they can switch like 3 or 4 positions at a time. So I'm sorry, with a team like the Spurs, when certain lineups they get out there, they can switch. And I think that is ultimately the best way to do it. If you can. Otherwise, no, you got to force them away from the screen and contain and get a hand up. Jay Manuman asks, how about that foul call on Kawhi when ref tried to even out the basket? Yeah, even at the bad call in the previous play. I hate makeup calls. I thought it was a phantom. I tweeted out that Vine, if that's what you're talking about, and people freaked out about it. Definitely one of the ones we could go with Ronnie Nunn on and look it through. So definitely a problematic call and probably a makeup, and makes it even worse. Are you on the bench, Harrison, start rush train yet? No, I don't know. Let me look at how well did Rush do ultimately? 10 points, 4-6. You know what, he did nicely. I don't know. I don't think it ain't broke. They don't got to fix it. So I'm not on that train. Sorry, Jarrell. David Lorenz Valdez asks, what was the biggest difference from this game and previous matchup? Well, I mean, I think part of it was that for whatever reason, the Warriors were just out of it a little bit, and Steph Curry particularly was out of it. And I think the biggest difference could very well be on the road and back-to-back. And that's not necessarily fair for the Warriors because it's just a quirk of the schedule. We'll have to see the rubber match and find out if that's the issue or not. What adjustments should Kerr make for the next game, Dexter? Part of it is get Bogut back in the lineup, get Iguodala. I think they did okay, and I'll have to go through again, like I said, and check how many Draymond, Steph pick and rolls they ran. But I suspect that if there wasn't a lot or their normal number, then it was because they were hiding it. They don't want the Spurs to see all their stuff. So that takes care of all the questions we have right now. Just a fantastic halftime and post-game show. I'm sorry we couldn't get my buddy Gabe into it. It looked like it was going to work, but one of these days we're going to get a live correspondent at the game to report back to us what the general mood is. Anyhow, we got more NCAA games to come up. I'll probably break down a couple games from the weekend, or maybe do a recap show on Monday for what happened over the weekend, because there was a lot of amazing, crazy stuff happening. It was really fun to watch. But it was nice to get back to some NBA too, because this is definitely the real basketball. This game was better than I think most of the games I saw in the NCAA tournament, except for the raw drama that we saw from a couple of those shots were insane. So, anyhow, great stuff. Glad we could be here. And don't forget, we'll be live tweeting a lot more games, and also be doing a lot more post-game shows as well. So let me know what you think on Twitter or on YouTube comments, what you think about doing, having like a camera behind me where we can, while the games are going on, we can kind of interact and have like, you can watch me watch and talk and whatever. It might be interesting. I don't know. So let me know. Other than that, thanks again for coming in, guys, and we'll do this again very soon. We'll have a lot more post-game shows the last several weeks of the season, and I can't wait. And don't forget, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in?